C Property Services, making your real estate dream a reality.
Welcome to episode 10 of Real Estate-ically Speaking and More with your host, Karen Cope. And our topic for episode 10 is tips to consider when building a house in Jamaica, part 2. The previous episode I did entailed building from scratch and so on. So this is a follow-up to what was already done. And I trust you will be able to share, like, and comment on the program, and let me know, what your thoughts are on it, what topics you would like me to cover, and so on. I would love to get some feedback. All right, so I'm just gonna go into tonight's the quote that I have for you, and this quote is: "It is not the beauty of a building you should look at. It is the construction of the foundation that will stand the test of time." And that is so profound. Needs no further explanation. It's self-explanatory. Okay, so let me go right into the broadcast. Tips to consider when building a house in Jamaica. So, of course, you need to ascertain that your name is on the title of the property that you will be building on. It's not advisable for persons to just see a piece of land and decide that they are to just go ahead and build. And so I know that it is in some areas in Jamaica, persons will think that it is okay to see a bit of land unoccupied over a period, and then they decide to go and build on it. No, that's a no-no. That's illegal. So you're first to ensure that this property belongs to you, and by ensuring that is so, this property, you either buy this property, it is gifted to you, or you lease it, and you're allowed to put on a temporary structure. But it is not advisable for persons to build permanent structures on land that does not belong to you. So if you are given the permission, as I said before, to build a structure that you can either move with or you can demolish it, then you do so. But if you were not given permission, or it is not, you did not inherit it, you did not buy it, then it's advisable that you don't build any permanent structure or any structure at all on it, because it's not yours. And you should be able to show a title. Once you decide to build on a property, your name should be on that title. Especially if you're going to need to get access mortgage to build on this property. You definitely will need to show that your name is on the title. All right, and what is a title? Some person might ask, what is a title? A title is a document that shows ownership of the property. Now, this slide shows you a sample of what a title is. So it gives the volume and the folio. That is the number that is assigned. Each title has its own designated number. The title should have the address of the property on it. It should have the name that the person who it belongs to, and so on, and other information. But be that as it may, this is the sample of what a title, a registered title, should look like. All right, so make sure that you employ the services of a commissioned land surveyor to identify the boundaries, even if the property has pegs. So you may recently buy a property or decide to buy a property, and when you went to view it and so on, it has pets. Unless this property was recently surveyed, and you can establish that, and you may not need to do a surveyor's report. But apart from that, what I do know, if you're going to be accessing a mortgage, the financial institution, unless they will accept a copy of one that was done by the previous owner. But what I do know is that these have short lifespan. That's the copy of the surveyor's report. I think it's for some financial institutions, it can go up to 1 year, but for the most part, I think it's just 6 months that it is valid for. So you have to bear in mind that you will need to pay a commissioned land surveyor to establish the boundaries of your property or the land that you're buying, and so that you know exactly where to start this building and so on. And as you go further in the process, then you will have other professionals who you will need to employ in this process as well. So you're going to need an experienced architect who can guide you in terms of drawing the plan for this house that you plan to construct. All right, so your building must be functional and it must conform with the Jamaican building code. So this architect that you get must be knowledgeable about the building codes and the laws of Jamaica. So basically, essentially, okay, and different areas have different building codes, and therefore, it's important that they check it out for the respective area. I think the rural area has a different building code from the corporate area, and hence, that should be established prior to construction. After your building plan is submitted and approved by the parish council, employ the services of a quantity surveyor, and the quantity surveyor will work out as close as possible to every detail as it concerns pricing, material pricing, and so on. The quantity surveyor should be able to give you that estimate of how much it will cost to build, and he would need to also have built in those costs some amount of or a certain percentage to accommodate for inflation. So they know how to do their thing. So they will guide you in that process. And you also need to get the cost, the labor cost that the builder will charge. So some builders have their own quantity surveyor that they use, and therefore they will just give you one cost in terms of material and labor, while for some you will need to get them separately done. And I think if you are getting a mortgage, the financial institution definitely need to know or need to get that report. That's the quantity surveyor's report, indicating what it's going to cost to do this construction for you, right? They're not gonna just dole out money just arbitrarily like that. They have to do their checks and balances too, and they will have their the professionals that they will accept certain reports from. They will inform you of all the documents, necessary documents that you need to have in place before they disperse any funds to start any construction. So basically, I'm a little ahead of myself. Once you're accessing a mortgage from a financial institution, you are required to submit that report and whatever other estimates you need. Okay, so there are some things that you need to pay attention to in terms of how the layout of your building and so on. You don't want to know that, based on how the property is set up, might be a natural waterway on the property itself that the architect, that the builder, and I think the architect as well may need to know as well, to assess all of that, to guide you in terms of where you should set the house on the land. Some persons might, just want the house to be set a particular way, but it may not be possible because you definitely need to be guided by the professional. The reason why some persons have flooding and so on of their houses is because, they probably set the house in the waterway, whilst if during the rainy time, the builder observe the flow of the water on the land and see where the water naturally flows, and that would advise them or guide them, as to where is best to set the house. And not only that, be aware of the water flow when constructing your boundary wall to prevent any water flow onto your neighbor's premises. None of us would like to know that our neighbor's water is flowing onto our property and flooding us. No, none of us would like that, and therefore we should not, we should do unto others as we would have them do unto us. All right. Consider where and how to put your gates to prevent any breaches based on the covenant and restrictions. Now, the title that I showed earlier on, it normally states, it normally has some covenants on it, and or we can call it do's and don'ts. That's things that you should not do on the property, and therefore, when constructing as well, you need to be guided by those covenants so that you're not in breach. Consider the size of your gate to ensure it is wide enough to accommodate delivery vehicles. So of course, you wouldn't want to know that you need to, while you're doing your construction, or even after you have finished constructing your house, you don't have a wide enough gate, because most times the gate may be the last thing that you may install, or the fence, and then and therefore you would need to ensure that even after you have completed your construction, if you need to have any further development on the property or so, then you want to make sure that you take into consideration, the width of your gate, so that, for future use or for even movements, if you need to move, if you have tenants and the tenants need to move, all of those things need to be taken into consideration. So, along with the builder, establish safety rules for workmen from the onset and ensure they are followed. Accidents can cost lives, and it can cost the owner as well. So, that is something we all have to be mindful of. Those of us who choose to build, that We want to ensure that there are safety guidelines that are followed, and that at the end of the day, nobody gets hurt unnecessarily, or if they do get hurt, there should be some guide as to how these persons will be taken care of and so on prior to starting the construction. All right, so owner and builder should be mindful of the weather condition to determine the best day to do certain work activities. For example, it is not good to do decking work or dig foundation on days when rain is likely to come. So that is self-explanatory. So, it takes some amount of coordination with, if you're going to be using a premix truck and so on, that you follow the weather, the weather report to know exactly, when you should do what. Ensure that you have a reliable water source and adequate water storage for the construction. So just in case, it's an area where the water is intermittent and you may not necessarily have water in the pipe at all times, you are to just make sure that you have a tank on hand that you store water in, so that the work can be continuous. You don't have work stoppage because there is no water. All right. So any wise and sensible builder will know that. Once he starts construction, he needs to ensure that he has adequate material on hand and on the site, so that he doesn't run out of anything beforehand. All right, so that is it for tonight's broadcast.
Tune into our live stream, Real Estate-ically Speaking, with yours truly every second and fourth Friday as of November 2021. You can contact us at the information on screen.